Yesterday, Germany held its election, and the results are in. Angela Merkel's former party, the center right Christian Democratic Union, received 28.6% of the vote, making it the single biggest party. However, it's not enough to form a government. The AfD, which was backed by Elon Musk, came out as the second biggest party with 20.6% of the vote, but they're not going to be part of the government. This is actually troubling a lot of people. I read this viral tweet by Joey Manorino. Let's go through it. So Joey said, the AfD being shut out of coalition talks in Germany proves what I've been saying. Democracy is a sham, a rotting corpse dressed up as freedom. You've got a party millions voted for, sidelined it like it's nothing. They got 20% of the votes and are the second largest party by vote share, yet not a single mention of including them in the government. Well, I'm sorry, that's how democracies actually work. You have to be able to form a majority government. And if you purely want to look at it from how many votes they got, which is 20.6%, that's not enough. It's not 50%. You are still a minority party. And all the other parties, whether they are center right, right wing, or left wing or far left, obviously they wouldn't join the AfD anyway. None of them want to form any alliances with the AfD, according to what they had said in their election campaign. So 80% of the Germans do not want their elected representatives to form a government with the AfD. That's perfectly in line with how representational democracies work. So I don't know what he's complaining about. This is not how it works. Obviously, these guys are upset because the AfD didn't win and they wanted AfD to win. And Elon Musk had thrown his entire support behind it. But again, unfortunately, that wasn't enough. Now, I am not an expert in German politics, but I do consume a lot of information from DWTV. And my surface level understanding is that Germany's economy has been a total disaster. It's Europe's biggest economy and is the glue that holds the EU together, but it has been hit the hardest and has not seen growth in the last 5 years. Obviously, Russia's war with Ukraine didn't help either, as Germany was dependent on Russian gas, which it could no longer buy due to the sanctions placed by Western democracies. Germany's auto industry has been facing stiff competition from China as well. Red tape, bureaucracy, the same usual stuff that we see in pretty much every Western democracy. But Germany is probably the worst performing developed economy. But apart from the cost of living crisis, it's the issue of migrants that upsets people the most. According to Politico, crime grew by 6% from 2022 to 2023, with immigrants committing 41% of all crimes in 2023, while they make up only 15% of the population. So in other words, almost half of all crime in Germany is committed by 15% of the population. I've shared these statistics before, but let me do that again. Those of you who haven't seen it, you ready? Okay. So in Germany, foreigners account for 67% of those implicated in gang rapes versus 12% of the total population. So they only make up 12% of the total population, yet they account for 67% of all gang rapes in Germany. Whereas native Germans, who make up the bulk of German population, which is 88%, they account for 33% of gang rapes. Now, that is still pretty high, but that just gives you an idea that which demography is causing all these problems. But if you drill it down further, you find that Afghans and Africans make up 34% of those implicated in gang rapes compared to 1% of the population. So they're less than 2% of the total population, yet they account for 34% of all gang rapes. 15% go to the Afghans and 19% go to the Africans. Now, this should make any German's blood boil. Now, there's another very interesting factor to look at. Most of the votes that the AfD got, it actually came from East Germany. Here you can see the map. And the CDU obviously heavily won in West Germany. So a lot of people are wondering why that is the case. I don't know. I'm not an expert, so this video is not about that. Now, I would have supported the AfD purely because they're the only ones who look like that they are serious about the migrant crisis. But the AfD is too pro-Russia for my liking. So in a way, I think it's a good thing that the AfD has come out as a very strong contender, almost knocking on the door, rather than outright winning the election, because we've lost America. So we can't afford to lose Germany either. Here's what Germany's upcoming Chancellor, Frederick Merz, said. Let me play this video. So it's from DW. The subtitles are genuine. I haven't put these subtitles up. I'll read it for those who are just listening. So Merz says independence from USA is top priority. I'm in close contact with many prime ministers, heads of state, and governments in the European Union. And my absolute priority will be to strengthen Europe as quickly as possible so that step by step, we can really achieve independence from the USA. Now, I think we have awakened a sleeping giant. Germany has been sleeping for the last 75 years. Some people might say that it was a good thing. This is what I've been trying to say, that America decoupling itself, or America abandoning Germany, in the long run, it's not good for America, because the European Union can make a very good army that could challenge or that could rival the US. Now, obviously, the US and the EU are never going to go to war with each other, but in the process, the US is going to lose a lot of leverage that it had over the EU. If you're not going to come and rescue us, why should we listen to you? If you want to go and fight with China, America, go, do whatever you want. But we're not going to give you this unwavering blind support in the UN that the EU, up until this point, had been consistently giving to America. So in the long run, I don't see that as a good thing for America. I never thought I would have to say something like that on a TV program, but after Donald Trump's latest comments in the last week, it is clear the Americans, or at least this portion of Americans, this government, care very little about the fate of Europe. I am very curious to see how we are heading towards the NATO summit at the end of June, whether we will still be talking about NATO in its current form, or whether we will have to establish an independent European defense capability much more quickly. Oh, and that cannot be done without Germany. Germany is the biggest economy. Germany has the most resources. Yes, German economy has been down in the dumps for the last 5 years or so, but they can turn things around. Hopefully, this war will come to an end, maybe in a year or so, if Donald Trump doesn't fully capitulate to Putin. Yes, America does most of the heavy lifting when it comes to NATO. But if America refuses to pull its weight in or do most of the heavy lifting, then the EU will make its own military, and they don't need the US. But yeah, a strong European army is not good for America. It's very simple, guys. So on this particular issue, I have to say that this time Germany is on the right side of history. And unfortunately, America under Donald Trump is aligning himself with America's traditional enemy and rival, Vladimir Putin, who makes no secrets about his desire to destroy the West. He doesn't like the West. He doesn't just not like Ukraine as an independent country. He doesn't like the whole of West. But this is where Donald Trump wants to go. I'm still hoping against hope that maybe, it's just one of his negotiation tactics. Now that Zelensky has offered to resign in exchange for NATO membership, that says a lot about this dictator. Anyway, the world has gone to the dogs. Now, there are various analysts at the Atlantic Council point out that although the AfD is being shunned, the CDU, once led by immigrant enthusiast Angela Merkel, is now being forced further to the right, which they have to. Because if they don't do anything about the migrant crisis, then yeah, the AfD will win the next time. So Stuart Jones, program assistant at the Atlantic Council's Europe Center, said that the party must address voter concerns on the economy, the cost of living, and migration crisis, or the AfD could sweep the next election. Now, this is very similar to the rise of the Reform Party in the UK. If the UK government doesn't get its act together, then both the Tories and the Labour Party will be decimated in the next elections. So, the days of these politicians making ludicrous decisions unilaterally are over. The new chancellor will have to do something about the migrant crisis. I know he's criticized Trump on his policy towards Ukraine, but he can learn something from Trump, how he's tackling the migrant crisis. All those countries who usually refuse to take back their illegal migrants are now taking them back because Trump just flexed his muscle. Germany can do the same. They just have to get off their high horses and stop listening to their blue-haired Wokistanis. Anyway, the next few weeks are going to be very interesting. It'll be interesting to see how Germany responds to this newly minted alliance between Trump and Putin. And obviously, it's not just going to be Germany. The whole of Europe is going to be behind Germany. And I think that's the kind of leadership that Germany has been lacking for quite some time. And now is a great opportunity to stand up and do something about it. Take your rightful place. Germany has been acting in the shadows for far too long. Maybe it's time for Germany to stand up and, I don't know, lead the world.